These are our large specimen trees. This is a multi-trunk 5-tree clump style, and this one is about 1.2 meter tall. This is the famous black pine that I've had since 1974. You can see it in all my books. In fact, I will show you the picture from my first book. This is another large tree. So I just thought I'd show you. This is page 149 of my first book, Bonsai, the Art of Growing and Keeping Miniature Trees. This photograph was taken in 1980, which means that this picture was taken 1980. That's 42 years ago that picture was taken. And this is the same tree 42 years later. So you can see how it has changed. The low branches, those 3 low branches have died. I've ginned them and I've made it into a bigger tree. So this tree is now twice as tall after 42 years. So that's a long time. So I thought you'd like to see this. It's a bright, clear day and it's the 7th of April, and you'd think that it was warm and sunny, but it's not. If you can look at that roof there, you can see that there's frost on the roof. And this morning we had hard frost. The temperature went down to -5 degrees centigrade. So it's been a cold day. So you must be wondering what we do on a cold day like this. Well, it's not often that we have to cover our large trees to give them protection. But I will just show you what is happening here. Steve, don't remove that, please. Leave it on. So here we are. These are covered with fleece. And this is how we protect our trees in these very cold nights. So this is a freak cold snap we're having when we've had cold Arctic winds. And this should be enough to protect it. This trident maple, my colleagues have just removed the fleece, but really they should have the fleece on throughout this cold spell. So that's another great big piece of fleece, and that is covering one of that very big maple. If you remember, that was the twin trunk maple, which we call the chicken plucker tree. If I can just show you it. This is it, that chicken plucker tree. So this is how they're protected. He's just removed the fleece from some of the other maples. But although we cover it here, in the Wisley Gardens, where I have a display of 36 very large bonsai, those trees are never covered and they seem to be all right. So it's just a precautionary measure. This is where you've got to know your trees. And then of course you would ask me, why don't I cover my evergreens? Well, these evergreens I know are very hardy, so I don't bother to cover them. And it's quite late in the year now, late meaning that's well into spring. If it was November or December, these junipers would be covered or put under shelter, because if I don't cover it, they get what is called the frost blush, and the frost turns the green foliage yellow or brown. So if you don't want the evergreens to turn yellow or brown, so you do put them under cover. And by cover, I mean that shade tunnel there. You see that green shade netting? That is enough to give them a lot of protection. So let's walk here. So you see that with that shade netting, these maples here are quite happy. And this is the equivalent of putting it under fleece. Fleece is a very thin material, very light woven material. So these maples here are being protected under this netting. So I thought I'd show you how these maples fare. And as I said, it's the 7th of April, and here in southern England, the leaves of these maples are all virtually in full flow, full leaf. Look at these shoots, about 30 centimeter long, these new shoots, all in the space of the last 3 weeks. They're literally growing by the minute, you could say that. And one more area where we have another shade tunnel. And this shade tunnel, I'll just show you this beautiful maple. Look at that. Look at the foliage on this. I think this is called Hagaromo. It's got these claw-like leaves, and they've got ordinary leaves as well. So on the same tree you get this different type of foliage. Such a beautiful tree, such a beautiful tree. Look at that. So different types of leaves all on the same tree. This is a very old pair of trees. Those two trees are identical. I would like to sell it as a pair because they go well as a pair. And these are all the shojos, benichidoris, all being protected under the shade. Now this maple, although it's been out here, hasn't come out into leaf at all. So all these maples behave differently. So although they're in the same place, different maples, like human beings, do behave slightly differently. And one more area where I will show you our major maples. I must make a parade of these specimen maples, because maples, as you know, are my favorite species of tree, and we have some beautiful maples. I don't like to crow about them, but I know I can grow maples well. Look at that, that's it. It was a 5-trunk tree, but that's now 4-trunk. This is another beautiful tree. This is the one that has a beautiful turtle back of a root. More trees. This is Seigen, which is a very unusual, rare maple. Doesn't tend to grow strong in the UK. They get caught by the frost and the cold winds. And that's another beautiful root-connected maple. I've shown this in another video, you will see. It's almost a turtleback, but it's connected by the same root to form another tree. Pity I'm not able to stand far back enough, because these trees are so massive. They're all like 4 feet, 4'6" high. They're all my exhibition trees, and for exhibition trees I like them large. So there you go. So this is where we shade our maples under this shade netting, which we find is quite enough to protect them from the cold frost. I can use the greenhouse and this plastic polytunnel. As you can quite clearly see, there are two major specimens here. This great big red Shojo maple and this very famous maple group. This is our pride and joy, growing ever so beautifully. And of course we have the pleasure of the greenhouse. Now this Benichidori is going outside. I haven't protected it at all. I've done that just as an experiment. We are always doing experiments. Now here we come into our main greenhouse. And here, of course, the temperature is always like 3 degrees, maybe sometimes 5 degrees centigrade warmer than the outside. So this is where all our maples grow. I could take hours just walking you through this area to show you all the different maples that we have. So I hope that gives you some ideas to how we protect our maples from the hard frost. So on that note, I will end this.